Annas and Caiaphas played a key role in the religious history of Judea in the 2nd century after Christ, an era marked by Roman rule in the region. The center of religious and cultural life in this period was the Temple of Jerusalem, where Annas and Caiaphas emerged as prominent leaders of the Jewish community. Their names are often mentioned in the biblical narratives, particularly in relation to the events that led to the crucifixion of Jesus. This connection underlines the significant influence that both had at that time, crucial to Christian history. Before we dive deeper into this review, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. During the Roman occupation, a system of government was established that limited the actions of local leaders, creating a complex dynamic between the Jewish religious leaders responsible for the order in the Temple of Jerusalem and the Roman authorities, who sought to maintain political control and stability. Every year, thousands of pilgrims converged to the temple to perform sacrifices and religious duties, giving the place a powerful symbolism and significant political importance. In the context of the Roman occupation and the intense religious tensions that marked this period, Annas emerged as a central and influential figure among Jewish religious leaders. He and other members of the Sadducean sect, who did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, held prominent positions. As high priest, Annas played an important role in the Jewish religious life, a position that conferred not only spiritual authority on him, but also significant political influence. It is important to mention that the relationship between religious leaders and the loss of privileges under Roman rule created a complex background, which is essential to understanding the actions and decisions of Annas, especially in relation to the arrest and trial of Jesus. Annas held the office of high priest on several occasions, standing out in the religious scene of his day. His first appointment occurred around the 6th year after Christ, under the rule of Quirinius, governor of Syria. He held the office until about 15 after Christ. During this period, Annas established a system of succession within his family, ensuring the continuity of religious power. His control over the high priesthood allowed him considerable influence in the Temple of Jerusalem, including supervision of rituals, administration of sacrifices, and observance of religious laws. This position not only made Annas a respected religious leader, but also a prominent political figure, since the temple was a center of power and control in Jewish society. Annas also exercised control over the temple tax and the activities of monetary exchange, elements that reinforce its relevance both in the religious and political sphere. In chapter 19, verse 45 of the book of Luke, we note a striking moment when Jesus drives out vendors and money changers from the temple, accusing them of desecrating the sacred place and turning it into a den of thieves. This incident highlights the commercial activities that flourished in the temple, including the sale of animals for sacrifices and monetary transactions. The Jewish Talmud reports that the residence of Annas was prosperous and operated with little ethics, alongside priestly leaders considered corrupt. It is believed that the presence of these commercial elements in the temple has tainted its holiness, contributing to grief among the faithful and leading to plans for persecution. On the other hand, Caiaphas, who joined Annas's family through marriage to his daughter, also played a significant role in this dynamic. Both families were wealthy and belonged to the aristocracy. By the 18th year after Christ, the relationship between Caiaphas and Annas became particularly relevant, indicating a priestly dynasty that maintained substantial control over religious and political matters in Judea. One of the most notable contributions of Caiaphas to the biblical narrative is recorded after the resurrection of Lazarus by Jesus. This significant event seems to have reinforced the tensions and the need for action by the religious authorities led by Caiaphas, in an already complex context of religious and political challenges. In the context described in the biblical narrative, Caiaphas' statement reflected the belief that the death of Jesus could prevent an uprising and thus protect the interests of Jewish religious leadership. Caiaphas prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and this would also serve to gather the scattered children of God. After this statement, the council, influenced by these words, agreed to eliminate Jesus, which marked a critical decision during his ministry. Tensions between Jesus and the Jewish religious leadership, especially represented by Annas and Caiaphas, intensified as Jesus promoted a religious reform, questioning established teachings and practices. These questions put Jesus in direct confrontation with the religious authorities. In this scenario of growing conflict, Jesus was arrested and taken to be questioned by the high priest. Jesus was first introduced to Annas and then to Caiaphas, who was the acting high priest at the time. These interrogations were critical moments in the biblical narrative, during which Annas and Caiaphas sought evidence against Jesus to support the blasphemy charges. During much of the interrogation, Jesus kept a predominantly silent posture. These events culminated in the decision to send Jesus to the Roman governor, which eventually led to his condemnation. This episode is fundamental to understand the intricate balances and power dynamics involved in the relations between the Jewish religious authorities and the figure of Jesus. It is essential to note that Annas and Caiaphas played active roles in the decision to incriminate and sentence Jesus to death. His political and religious influence was decisive in the outcome of the crucifixion of Jesus on Mount Golgotha. After the resurrection of Jesus Christ, Caiaphas refused to accept evidence of Jesus' rebirth and continued to persecute his followers. He tried to kill Peter and John, and later was involved in the death of Stephen. Caiaphas also authorized Saul to arrest any Christian he encountered, showing his important role in the repression of early Christians. About the year 36 after Christ, Caiaphas was deposed by Vitellius, the Roman governor of Syria, at a time that coincided with the dismissal of Pilate from his position. Caiaphas found his death in tragic circumstances, being killed and dragged during the Roman conquest of Jerusalem, an event that also led to the destruction of the temple, fulfilling the prophecy of Jesus. Interestingly, the tomb of Caiaphas's family was discovered in 1999 during the construction of a road in an ancient cave near Jerusalem. On the other hand, Annas died in a sad and tragic way, losing his mind and banging his head against the walls, realizing that he had contributed to the death of the Messiah. For the sake of curiosity, Matthias Nato, grandson of Annas and son of Theophilus, was appointed by Agrippa II as high priest in the year 65 after Christ. He was the last high priest before the destruction of the temple and the fall of Jerusalem, events also prophesied by Jesus. During this event, all the books of the priests were burned. As it is beautiful to take the word of Sir. If you have desire to create your own channel as well as ours, to be able to take the word of the Lord more and more far, click on the first comment fixed and learn, even if you are a complete beginner. And for you who are interested in biblical curiosities and wisdom, we leave here one of our most intriguing videos. Discover all the secrets about Judas Iscariot. Click and follow. May God be praised. See you soon.